Carolina, Edgar, and Ivo.
So, I'm starting now with Africa and the African Union. First, some general information about Africa. Africa is the world's second largest and second most populous continent. In numbers, 30.3 million square kilometers land area and 1.1 billion people are living in Africa. Africa's population is also the most youngest amongst all the continents. So the African Union is a continent consisting with 54 countries in Africa. It's made up of political as well as administrative bodies. The combined states of the African Union constitutes the world's 17th largest economy with a GDP of 500 billion US. In GDP by purchasing power parity, the African Union's economy totals 1,515 billion US, ranked 11. Some of the objectives of the African Union are achieve greater unity and solidarity, as well as establish peace on the whole continent. Also accelerate political and social economic integration of the continent, and many more. So now, in the table you can see the different African regional blocks, like here. Each of it has their own free trade zone, and some countries are part of more than one regional bloc. So, next slide please. The AFTZ, or African Free Trade Zone, is a free trade zone announced in 2008 between the African Development Community, short SADC, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, and the East African Community. In May 2012, the idea was extended and includes 3 more blocks. The 3 blocks are ECOWAS, ECAS, and the AMU. In June 2015, negotiations were launched between all the 54 African Union states to launch a continental free trade area, and should be ended in 2017. The EAC, SADC and COMESA summit is considered historic because for the first time several regional blocs come together and met on how to integrate territories and moving towards deepening and widening the integration in Africa. The AFTZ currently have a combined population of 527 million people and combined a GDP of 625 billion. Actually, the AFTZ has 26 member states. Next slide. Oh. Yeah. The main institutions and future plans. The most important institution is the Assembly of the African Union, which is currently the supreme governing body of the African Union. It is composed of the head of states from all the African Union states. The Pan-African Parliament is becoming the highest legislative body of the African Union. It's composed of 265 elected representatives from all the states, intended to provide popular and civil society participation in the process of democratic governance. The third one is the Court of Justice. The Constitutive Act provides for a Court of Justice to rule on disputes over interpretation of the AU treaties. Those are the 3 most important commissions, but there are many more. And now to the future plans. The 8 future goals include the creation of a free trade area, a customs union, a single market, a common currency, a central bank, thereby establishing economic and monetary union. The current plan is to establish an African Economic Community with a single currency by 2023 and a customs union until 2019. Now Edgar will go on.
Mexico doesn't have actually any trade agreements or tariff barriers with Africa. The African Union works by its own, so it's a challenge for Mexico to have trading with this country. And basically, the relationship they have are just 9 embassies, and they are examining the feasibility to open new embassies in countries like Mozambique, Tanzania, and Ivory Coast, because they are growing economies, and in the future they can have some trade agreements or tariff barriers. So practically, Mexico have a deficit with the African Union because the raw materials that Mexico produce, like coffee, chocolate, fuel, or metals, Africa also produce them, so they don't have actually any opportunity to trade these basic and very profitable raw materials. And now we have a video of the African Union.
Brought to you by AJ+. President Mugabe of Zimbabwe is currently blacklisted by the European Union, yet he made waves in January 2015 when he was elected to chair the African Union. The position is largely ceremonial, but human rights groups aren't happy with the appointment. So what is the African Union? Well, it's like the EU, but for the continent of Africa. It originally began in 1963 as a slightly different entity, the Organization for African Unity, which primarily fought colonialism from European countries like the UK and Portugal. The OAU is famous for helping eradicate apartheid in South Africa and mediating several border disputes during the 60s. But it was revamped at the turn of the century to focus more on promoting health, democracy, education, peace, and human rights. In 2002, the African Union was finally launched. There are 54 members representing every nation except Morocco, which opts out because of a dispute with another AU member, the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Every year, national leaders meet in Ethiopia to measure progress towards their goals and discuss new concerns. This year has a theme of women's empowerment and development. Last year focused on agriculture and food security, as well as ending poverty and Boko Haram violence. The UN has been working closely with the Union to combat Boko Haram, and the AU has carried out peace missions in Darfur and Somalia. The AU is also planning a unified African currency system for 2023 called the Afro. Also in the works are a human rights court, a bank system, and more military strength for the AU to help protect the whole of Africa. But the AU is still underfunded, and recent peace missions on behalf of the organization have been hampered by untrained, ill-equipped AU troops. Epidemic and pandemic diseases also challenge efforts to unify the area, as does mass poverty. However, the African Union's ultimate quest for peace and a sort of peer review among the democratically elected leaders at the UN summits make it one of the most important political organizations for progressive efforts in Africa and worldwide. Some members of the African Union have raised concerns that the International Criminal Court has a bias toward indicting African leaders. Check out this video from AJ+ to learn more about the ICC and their role in the world.
It's based in The Hague, but can be held anywhere else in the world. Over 100.
So this was a quick look of what is the African Union and how it functions. And recent developments between Africa and Mexico, as I said before, they don't have a big trade agreement because they don't trade the raw materials that are mostly traded. But some private enterprises are exploring and are taking the challenge of doing the outsourcing there in Africa, like Bimbo. Bimbo is going to introduce their products to the African market they don't know exactly where, but they want to open new possibilities to expand their sales. So it's more like a private initiative to have to have trade with Africa by the private enterprises.
These are the recent developments between Africa and Mexico. And I have some interesting information, like Mexico Ministry of Foreign Relations is implementing a series of measures at opening new spaces for political action using bilateral and multilateral mechanisms for dialogue. For the first time, Mexico presented its credential to the government of Angola, Madagascar, Malawi, Mauritius, Namibia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Zambia. And this new policy makes it possible to increase the political contacts with different countries of Africa and to increase the trade opportunities and multi-sectoral cooperation. And three years ago, Mexico declared an African Week in which exhibited the African culture. And during the last 2 African weeks, a Mexico-African countries technical cooperation fair was held for the first time, as well as a trade opportunity seminar with the participation of Mexico's honorary consuls in Africa. That's it.
So that's it.
Thank you for your
attention.
attention.